Navamsha Lagna secrets today, ladies and gentlemen. What does it mean if you are a particular ascendant in your Navamsha, your D9 chart? In case you want to know more about D9 and Navamsha, there is a series in my channel made by Vishti Larson. This is long back, so please watch that video in detail. But today, if you want to know just okay, this is my ascendant, nothing else, then you're in the right place. So here you go. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the video. And for personalized horoscope consultations, you will find my website down in the description section. God is there with you all the time. Just look to him and you will find him. Now, before we go to every ascendant, you need to understand in general what the Navamsha is. The Navamsha shows your internal life, which means how you are when nobody is around. Nobody is around. Or maybe there's still one person around. Who is that? Well, that is Krishna himself. Sri Krishna is in your heart because he says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. He says, I am situated in the region of the heart. Okay. So God is there with you always by default. Either I say it or you hear it. He's there by default. All right. So therefore, what do you do when nobody is watching you? And one of the persons who watches us most closely is our spouse. That is why the Namamsha is also known as the chart of marriage, but it's not literally like the chart of marriage, but indeed it shows the circumstances that you might experience in your married life and the plus and the minus, challenges, difficulties, advantages. All right, but it is not the chart of your spouse, nor it is literally the chart of your marriage. All right, so therefore please don't see the Navamsha in isolation. Please first see your D1 and then you see the D9. And when I say D1, I mean the Lagna chart, the Bhavchali chart, Nakshatras, Ashtag Varga, everything, and Dashas and transits. And along with that, you see the D9. All right. So now we will go to every ascendant. So now the first ascendant, Aries. For Aries, Navamsha. So if your Navamsha Lagna is Aries, this is a very intense thing actually for you. See, the Navamsha shows your internal life. And if your D9 Lagna is Aries, it means you are a very intense person inside. People with Aries Navamsha at times can feel that life is not going at the frequency that they wish. It means like, imagine you have a car, you want to drive it at 200, 250 kilometer per hour. But the road is not good, or there's too much traffic jam, or you are not in a highway. So at best you can drive it at maybe 60, 50, 100, or at max 120. But you want that everything happens very fast. You can be short tempered with this. So now you might lack patience with this, but your life will be driven by self discovery through actions and through courage. So Aries Navamsha, if you feel that your life is not going at the speed that you want, then it just means you are doing good in life. Yes, it just means that, because now when I say good, I don't mean in that way, like you want to go at 200 and you're going at 20. I don't mean to say that. But suppose you want to do things very fast, but you are not able to do that, means you are still motivated, you are gearing up basically. So the day you lose this spirit, the day you are satisfied, Aries Navamsha, that is the day of trouble. So for you, you should be happily dissatisfied with your last success, okay? The recent success. And marriage may bring a deeper sense of awareness within you, which is driven by ego, identity, and control. So this means you might be a bit egoistic in your married life. You may be a bit possessive towards your spouse. For example, if somebody says something, you may not like it, or your spouse is interacting with some member of the opposite sex, that is also something which you may not be able to tolerate. Okay, so there could be issues related to impulsiveness. Okay, so for example, you may You may behave very abruptly at times. Now, this is not necessarily bad or this is not necessarily wrong, but can be a bit challenging for marriage. And along with this, in the D9, if you are a Manglik and in your date of birth, your numerology, if you have the number 9 and 4, you may be a very, very, very short tempered person. Okay. So, therefore, if you have Aries Navamsha and you have 9 and 4 in numerology and you are also Manglik in your D1 chart, then you need to understand you have to do spiritual practices, you have to practice discipline and use your traits in good areas, like for example leadership, joining the armed forces, or doing something physical. Okay, it's very, very, very important. Physical activity is imperative for you. If you don't do physical activity, you'll feel life is very dull and boring, and you'll use it in all sorts of wrong areas, like sexuality, for example. And you might have a tendency to be very righteous at times. Now, this is not wrong. Again, this can be a bit critical in your marriage, like you are being too idealistic. Okay, so please understand that it's great to be idealistic, but at times people may disappoint you and you have to forgive them at times. Okay, not always, but in times. And your partner, your spouse can be a very good mirror for your anger. So see, the Bhagavad Gita says anger is a symptom of lust. When lust is unfulfilled, it turns into anger. So therefore, if you are getting angry too much, then you need to understand, it is your sex desire which is expressing that frustration, all right, in any area of life, basically. So because when the Bhagavad Gita talks of kama, kama, krodha, it does not just talk of sex desire, it talks of any desire, and the pinnacle of any desire, is sex desire. It's most entangling. So therefore, if you feel you are not able to control your mind, try to bring some sexual discipline in your life. Try to practice celibacy. Mars is the celibate, very, very, very important to some extent. If you are married, and if you are not married, then complete celibacy, of course. And you should try to lead with inspiration and example rather than dominating. Okay, so therefore, try to surrender to God, do your best, and always understand that you will always feel you are going slower than you should go, and that's good for you. All right, Aries, take care. Now we go to Taurus Navamsha. Your Navamsha Lagna is Taurus. This is fantastic indeed, because the Atma Karaka of the Navamsha chart is actually Venus, right? And Taurus, as you know, is lorded by Venus. So this is actually fantastic. So you like stability from inside. Now, this is very interesting. If your Navamsha Lagna is Taurus but is afflicted, you may not like stability. But in general, if there is no affliction, or if there is a good benefit, or if even if there is affliction but it's only one affliction or one malefic, then also it can be reasonably good. But in general, you will see they will like stability. So you will like stability, beauty, comfort, and you might be a bit materialistic. Now, when I say materialistic, I don't mean in a generic sense, but a bit above. Bit above the threshold, which means you don't do things which are illegal, but within the realm. Like, for example, you are a married person, then you will not necessarily indulge with the other members of the opposite sex, but you may have something like, oh, you are too much luxury pro, you are using too many perfumes or too many good cars or whatever, so you are taking too many vacations. Okay, so this could make you a bit prone to luxury, but in general, for a stable life, this is great. So you yourself will value stability, so you will have deep karmic revelations which will come in your life. And for you, sensuality could be very important. All right, so if you have this placement, like your D9 Lagna is Taurus, then it is important that you get married to a person who you are physically attracted to, at least to a reasonable good extent, or else you might be tempted to look for beauty outside of marriage. Okay, so this is one danger. And sometimes your sexuality can be a bit out of control. Now, in your date of birth, if you have the number 2 and also number 6, or at least one of to especially six, because six is the number of Venus, and along with six, if you also have seven in numerology, then this sexual exploration and need for sexuality could be a bit higher than normal. Okay, but in general, it is recommended you get married, because through marriage you will have a lot of fulfillment, and through marriage you will get to know a lot of hidden behavioral patterns which you have within yourself. Okay, and you will know, you will be able to realize your self-worth more after marriage, and you will also find more inner security after marriage. Okay, now again, this is dependent on your D1, because if your D1 chart is not the best, then you may face difficulties in marriage, like for every ascendant. I'm not talking for you. So now for you it is like a tricky situation, like if you have Taurus Navamsha, so it's like saying you value marriage, you value relationships, but the D1 is not good. So you are either not able to get married or you are not able to stay married. Okay, so this could be a challenging situation. So therefore, in case your D1 is not good and you are watching this video and you feel, oh, my marriage is not good, then try to go towards devotion, towards bhakti, because Venus gets exalted in the sign of Pisces, as we know. And for you, finances, family, children, all these things are very important. So in the long run, you should aim to get married and have a family and have stability in your life. That will make you much more happy. You will feel internally very much fulfilled and satisfied, and you will be much more happier at a soul level. Okay, and now the only danger with this is being overly materialistic. So in the weekends you should do spiritual practices, and in case you feel that you are too materialistic, then you can do something which where you can channelize this creativity and materialism. Like for example, you go to some spiritual community, you can do some cooking there or some dancing, singing, painting. By that, this will be dovetailed properly. And you are a person of grace. You like gracefulness. Okay, so for you, uh, the lesson is that you have to give without expecting too much. All right, because if you expect too much, you may be frustrated. But indeed, this is a great placement. Congratulations, Taurus Navamsha. All right, now we go to Gemini. What's going on, Gemini? Gemini Navamsha Lagna. Fantastic. This is, or maybe not. In general, this is a nice placement, because this means you you like communication internally. You like to communicate with others. You like to express. One problem with this could be you are talking too much and you are not listening to others. Your spouse may complain that you are only a good talker but a bad listener. Okay, now if your Lagna, Navamsha Lagna, is afflicted, so it's Gemini Navamsha Lagna, but if it is afflicted, you may be on the other extreme. You may not speak at all. You may be totally like an introvert. Or if there are benefits, you may be too much extroverted. Now, this is a situation where you need to balance, because if you are speaking too much, you will develop narcissism. Like, you'll think, oh, you are the only one who knows everything. Nobody else knows it. Like everybody else is an idiot. I am the only smart person in the room. So if you have this placement, then you are curious and you are karmically drawn towards communication, towards duality, towards intellect. You may like to study extremes. Oh, right wing, left wing politics, right wing, left wing, right wing, left wing. Okay. Sometimes you may be obsessed with being a centrist also with this. Okay. And for you, marriage will help you integrate your thoughts which are scattered. So with this, one problem is with this Navamsha Lagna in Gemini is you may be all around, your thoughts may be all around. Okay, oh, today I want to do this, tomorrow I want to do that. Internally you are a very chaotic person, it could be. So getting married could help you to channelize that, in the right way, right? Communication with your spouse. And also, one challenge that you might face is internally you might be a superficial person. So it's like saying you have too many friends externally, You are very flamboyant. You are this, charming dude or this, girl which everybody desires. But internally, you are like, what is this? I'll do anything with anybody. I hope you mean you understand what I mean. So therefore, if in your chart, in your D1 chart, uh, along with this Navamsha Lagna in Gemini, if in your D1, your Venus is a bit afflicted, or it is associated with the eighth house, then there could be multiple sexual explorations, and that is not very good. Okay, so that is something you should not do. And in general, this is a great placement, for writing, for speaking, for coming to YouTube, because internally you might be a person who likes to share. Okay, so this is a great thing basically. And there could be a lot of karma which involves your siblings also. And your behavior could be jack of all trades and master of none. Okay, or maybe master of one at least. Okay, so if you are jack of all trades, master of none, then try to be jack of all trades but master of one actually. Okay, at least one. It could be more than one also. And you have to learn to embrace silence, because at times you can realize that you have addiction to social media. You always want somebody to talk, and you are always like, okay, what is going on, like anxiety. Okay, anxiety is there, so you need to embrace silence. You need to embrace silence, or learn how to embrace silence. Very, 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 very important. So you need to practice detachment at times. Okay, and for you, interacting with people is very important. So try avoid going to places where it's very lonely. Try avoid selecting careers where it is very it's very robotic, or there is no human interaction. You may suffer in the long run. And if you are looking to get married, then you should also look for a spouse with whom your mentality matches. Okay, otherwise you'll feel you're not able to talk, and that might create troubles. And now, for you, the most important remedy at a spiritual level is to find one path and to stick to it. Okay, so Gemini D9 Lagna, please stick to one thing. Okay, you need time to decide who to marry. Fine, no problem. But once you decide, stick to them. Okay, and try to seek enlightenment through speaking of spiritual topics by doing katha and all these things, and you will be very good. All right, Gemini, please take care. Now we go to Cancer. Cancer, Navamsha Lagna. Fantastic. This is Cancer is the sign ruled by the moon. But moon and Venus are enemies, right? See, Cancer is a very interesting sign because it is lorded by moon, which is not a friend of Venus, but it is also the zodiac sign where Jupiter gets exalted. So this is like saying the Venusian energy can suffer a bit, but the Jupiterian energy flourishes. Okay, but nonetheless, the moon is very important. So you'll experience deep karmas and family ties, and especially relationship with your mother will be very important. And this will define your inner evolution. So how are you growing internally? So for you, money is important, everything else is important, but most important is emotional connection. If you feel emotionally distant from a person, then this could be a very, very, very challenging placement. So for you, it is imperative, if you are looking to get married, you get married to somebody who you are able to relate to emotionally. The bond is there, that strength is there. Okay, otherwise, if you only marry because of looks or money, then and and unfortunately, if God forbid you feel that this person is not able to connect to me emotionally, or you are not able to connect to them, then your marriage could be in trouble. Now, by trouble, I don't mean to say you'll be divorced, but even if you're not divorced, you may be miserable. Okay, like staying with somebody who you are not emotionally connected to, so it could be like a punishment for you. Okay, but in general, you can be a big foodie. You are a great host. People like to stay with you. You are very motherly, you are very affectionate, you are very compassionate. upon people, unless moon or the Lagna is very, very, very badly afflicted. Okay, but in general, uh, marriage can be good for you. Of course, it depends on the divan also, but in general, marriage can offer long-term fulfillment for you. So for you also, just like for Taurus, it is recommended you get married, and you may be very much attracted towards the divine mother, like Ma Lakshmi or Ma Durga, Ma Kali, Ma Saraswati, or any other like for the motherly personality from any other religion. That is also fine. And for you, nurturing is very, very, very important. So if you are married and unfortunately if you don't have children, or you have tried and you had miscarriage or some other unfortunate thing has happened, so it is recommended um, you adopt somebody. I mean, that is good for you. So these are the good things. You love to feed people, you love to eat, you love to host others at your home, you love to make others feel very comfortable. So it is very good to stay with somebody who has Cancer Navamsha Lagna, because they will make you feel at home instantly. And the challenge with this is you might not be able to balance your emotions with detachment. Okay, so you may become too much emotional. So do not overly invest in people, especially in your date of birth. If you have multiple two, for example, you are born on like 2nd February 1982, 1992, or 2002, or somebody is recently born, okay, 2nd February 2022, something like that, then you may be very, 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 very emotional, and that can create disturbance in your life. Okay, so therefore you need to balance your emotions. That is very, very, very important. So practice detachment, and you may have a lot of psychic abilities, so you can use it. You can become a psychic, a reader, or astrologer also. That could be good, and that can open a lot of doors to spiritual perfection. So among all the yoga systems and spiritual practices, bhakti yoga, connecting to God at an emotional level, that could be great for you. And your fulfillment in life will only come if you act like a caregiver to others, at a spiritual level, of course. So your karmas might also be linked to your mother or motherly personalities. But in general, this is a great placement for obtaining spiritual perfection through emotions. All right, Cancer Navamsha Lagna, take care. Now we go to the boss. Who's the boss here? I'm the boss. I'm the best. Leo Navamsha Lagna. Your Navamsha Lagna is Leo Simha. Simha Lagna, Simha Rashi. Very, very, very powerful position. Your soul will seek divine expression through leadership, creativity, recognition, name, fame, power, position, authority. You can be very dominating at times, or you might struggle with power. Like, for example, within your marriage, it's like you are always thinking, oh, who's making the decisions? It's me, or is it my spouse? Oh, I need to control my spouse. Oh my God, my spouse is not, should not control me. I should be independent. Okay. So power could be a thing in your marriage. Okay, it's like that's the reality. So for you, it is it's just not recommended, it is imperative that you get married. Why? I said for Taurus and for Cancer, I said it is good to get married, but for you, it is must that you get married. You know why? Because when you get married, what happens? The seventh house in your chart gets activated, right? And seventh house is opposite. Leo is like the sun, it's like the sun gets digbali in the 10th house but gets exalted in Aries, which is the first sign. So without marriage, you might have this tendency to be, me always. So for you, it is very, very, very essential that you get married, of course, with a good person and with a person of your choice. And your for you, you might be a bit status conscious, about your spouse, or you might be a bit looks conscious. Now, you are not looks conscious because you want a very attractive person, but you may be a bit conscious that, oh, if he or she does not look well, what will my circle say? What will they think? Look, kya kahenge? Okay, this could be a topic for you. Now, this is very interesting. On one side, you will be like, I don't care. Farak nahi padta, bhad mein jaye sab. I don't care what who thinks, but the problem is, suddenly you might be, no, 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 no. Oh my God, what will happen if I marry them? So it is recommended that when you are getting married, you marry somebody, who is at par in looks and, like education, family, finances, like the status quo is a bit similar, if there's like too much difference. Or what might happen is, if you are marrying somebody who is, like completely out of your league, you might be feeling insecure all the time. Okay, so this is one problem. So marrying somebody out of your league is also not recommended, and marrying somebody who is not matching your status, your personality, your looks, that is also not recommended. So because you will be very conscious, if your photo comes, how are you looking? Okay, are you both looking nice together, or or one of them is looking a bit off? Okay. So therefore, yeah, marriage is important because it will teach you humility, and it will teach you to share things. Because for you, Leo Navamsha, it could be very difficult sometimes, to share things, to share, yeah, like, share limelight. Okay. So therefore, get married, share the limelight, and that's very, very, very important. So, in terms of your spiritual journey, worshipping Lord Ram could be a very good thing for you. And you need to align your ego with, divine dharma. So do something great, do something which transforms society. And you are a person who would love to rule from your heart, okay, rather than ruling from your head. Then children and creative pursuits will be very good for you. So it's recommended you have children, you pass on your lineage, carry on your lineage. And there could be a lot of karmic interactions, with your children. So that is also important. And for you, the most important thing is you realize that you need to use your power for good service, okay, for good of the humanity. And with your partner, there could be power struggle. So be a bit aware of that, and don't marry somebody who you don't like. And spiritual practices are important because then you will realize God is great. Okay, so then your own arrogance and ego will be a bit controlled. All right, so you know, Mamsha, great placement, but be respectful and humble and get married. All right, take care. Now we go to Virgo Navamsha Lagna. Ooh, this, what is this? Virgo Lagna. See, Virgo, what is Virgo? If you see Virgo, Virgo is the original sixth sign. Okay. Interesting. Now, the sixth sign is the sign which loves to find faults. Okay. Because now, does it mean you will always be finding faults with your spouse? Well, not necessarily. But in general, you might be a bit critical. In general, okay, critical not of your spouse only, of anybody basically. Okay. So, in case you feel that you are overly critical of things and of people internally. So now, see, the D9 Lagna shows internal things, which means externally you might pretend, oh, I'm very adaptable, I'm very much accepting of others, other thoughts, behaviors, ideologies. But internally, you may be very self centric and very, I won't say egoistic, but you may be too much obsessed with your own opinions, ideals. So that is one danger actually with this placement. But nonetheless, this path of your life, if you have this will involve, refinement, structuring of your thoughts, like scheduling routine repetitive behavior from your life. And it will involve a lot of analysis. You'll be very particularly analyzing things, and you will want to do a lot of service also, or to others, or service to yourself. Okay, this is also very interesting. So your marriage may involve lot of discussions about, perfectionism and, judgment. Okay. So you Virgo, you might be very particular. No, 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 no. I want a spouse like this. He or she should look like this. They must earn this much money. They must be from this religion, this caste, this country, this language. So when you are running behind perfection too much, then you may realize that you are not able to find anybody who puts who falls in all the tick marks. Okay. So therefore, if you feel that you are not able to find anybody, then maybe it's a good thing to try to reduce your expectations. Otherwise, what happens is nobody is perfect, including you, no, or me. The only person perfect is God Himself, right? But nobody can be God. So if we are not perfect, how can we expect the other person to be perfect? Okay, so try to get rid of perfectionism beyond a certain extent. Some level of perfectionism is fine, but uh, and also try to avoid giving unwanted advice or being too much overly critical of others, and try to be compassionate. So your energy should go from criticism to compassion. Okay, that's very, very, very important. And you may be very much concerned about your physical health also, which is great. So you may want to marry somebody who is also a bit conscious, health wise, is taking care of their appearance. And for you, the most important thing is to do social service and to serve God also. Okay, so you should do seva, and that will become like your sadhana. And you you should be strict with yourself, but a bit lenient with others. Okay, that's important. Otherwise, what happens is you will be uh, you will be disappointed in life. Okay, you will roam the earth by being disappointed. Why? Because, oh, he didn't do this, she didn't do that. So be strict with yourself. Have routines for yourself, have structure, authority, discipline, punctuality, and all this. But with others, you have to be a bit lenient at times. Okay, so try to seek purity rather than only seeking control. And for you to become a healer is a great profession. Depending on your chart, of course. Disclaimer: it's not a prediction that you will you will become a healer, but it can be an area which you might explore. Or becoming a critique, or becoming somebody like an auditor, like that could be very good. Okay, or anything to do with numbers, maths, accounts, calculation, these things could be good. Okay, for your profession. And you can do research, so also going towards research could be very interesting to for you. So therefore, try to realize God everywhere. Like God is in every detail, and be strict with yourself and be lenient with others. All right, take care, Virgo. Libra Navamsha Lagna. So your Navamsha Lagna is Libra. This is great actually, because Libra is the Mool Trikon sign of Venus, and Libra is also the sign of marriage. And guess what? Navamsha tells us about our married life, right? And Venus is the Atmakarak of the Navamsha. So this means your mentality by default is like a person who wants to get married and wants to continue remain married with one person. Now, of course, if there are afflictions in general, this may not be the case, but in general, this is good. So your soul will long for balance and harmonious relationships. But you may be too much concerned about the appearance of the spouse. Okay, so this is something which you have to be careful, because you may want to you may be too much concerned about externals, like how they are looking, especially, are they having a nice personality, are they charming like you? So again, there's nothing wrong in looking for a spouse that is good looking or looks at par with your looks. Nothing wrong with it, but that should not be the only criteria which you look for. Okay, but in general, it's great for you to get married, because you will experience a lot of fulfillment, and marriage will reveal your karmas around codependency. So at times you may realize that you are too much codependent on others, or maybe there is injustice, and you may be a bit concerned, okay, how is that person treating me, how am I treating that person. So this will give you a good sense of how the world works actually, because the world is not fair. See, Libra, you want fairness, I know that, but the world is not fair. So in marriage, you realize sometimes you are fair, sometimes the other person is not. Okay, or sometimes the other person is fair, but you are not fair. So it will give you a good opportunity to channel your thoughts and your creativity and your search for justice in the right way actually. And you may have this disease of being overly diplomatic at times, or being too much politically correct. So this can cost you at times, because see, it's nothing wrong in being diplomatic, but at times, if people really need to hear the truth, you might have to say them unfiltered, okay? But it's difficult for you. So therefore, if you are talking of profession, you might, yes, be you might become a great diplomat. You may know how to say what and when and where and how much not to, right? And your love will become divine when it is rooted in the truth, but when also presented in the right way. Not that, in the name of speaking the truth, you blast on others, you hurt others. And also not that in the name of not hurting others, you don't speak the truth. Okay, so that balance of speech is very important. You speak the truth, but you speak in a way that is good actually, good to hear, and the person gets elevated. So anudvegam karam vakyam, the Krishna says, right? Truth, austerity of truth has many characteristics. Okay, and you may be very attracted towards art, beauty, and all these things. So that's great, if you can marry somebody who is also very artistic like you, or is good looking like you, or in general has a good sense of fashion and all this. That could be good for you. And one danger with this is you might have a very high need for validation, always looking for validation. Oh, how will what will they say, he say, she say. And that is something which might get you into emotional turmoil at times. Okay, so it's not wrong to seek validation, but to seek it all the time and from everybody, that is dangerous. And so try not to do it in social media from the opposite sex. Okay, so try to be detached from your need for validation to whatever extent possible. And at the end, you need to understand, you need to seek balance. Okay, because Libra, Navamsha can be one of the most unbalanced things. Okay, which means you need to balance. So spiritual evolution will come through partnerships, but partnerships where both the parties win. All right, Libra, take care. Now we go to Scorpio Navamsha Lagna. This is an intense placement. This is what you have heard, right? Well, you are not wrong if you have heard this. But let me clear off the air. This does not mean that this is a nightmare. You will always get divorced, or your partner will cheat on you, or, yeah, it does not mean that you will have a terrible marriage, in short, okay? Because your married life will depend on many factors. The Navamsha, where your Venus is your D1, nor does it mean, your career is good, because people are fearful of Scorpio Navamsha, all right? So it means your experiences in marriage might be a bit intense than others, but it certainly does not mean that your married life is screwed, or that you will never get married, or it does not mean you'll be cheated, or you'll become a widow, or there will be something exceptionally difficult about your marriage. Okay, unless everything is indicating that, everything else also, then this may not happen. But there will be intense karmas, uh, and there will be emotional transformations. So therefore, you might you if you are looking for getting married, you you should try to get married to somebody who you can actually trust. Okay, otherwise you will always have trust issues. So if they are doing things which make you a bit suspicious, then that could be a red flag. So you should not get married to the person. Now, suppose you are married and you are facing trust issues, then you should have an honest conversation with your spouse. Very, very, very important. And marriage can bring up hidden fears, issues of controlling each other, and things which might require deep healing. And you might have a tendency to punish your current partner for mistakes done by your X, Y, or Z. So don't punish people who have not hurt you because somebody else hurt you. And in your date of birth, if you have 9 and 4, then you might have anger issues also. You might be too much overly controlling. Okay. So for you, crisis, loss, rebirth, astrology, occult, all these difficult things maybe like you might feel at home. Like, with this, I've seen it happen at times with Scorpio Navamsha. If your life is too normal, you may feel it's a bit abnormal. And when your life is a bit abnormal, you may feel, that's how my life is. Always troublesome. Trouble in the sense, like, something or the other is always going wrong here, there. So in that sense, not in a ghastly sense, but in general, your biggest challenge is to surrender. Surrender to your spouse, surrender to God, surrender not in terms of defeat, but to trust people that they will be with you, they'll help you. Okay. And ultimate surrender has to be done to God, to Sri Krishna. That is like Krishna says in the Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. And you have very powerful intuition in your numerology date of birth. If you have 1, 7, and 8, you will have exceptionally high intuition. Whatever you say will become true. And you will love mystical things, mystical learnings. And for you also, it is important that you marry a person who is interested into occult or all this mysticism and all this. Otherwise, yeah, there could be lack of communication in the marriage. And for you, one danger is unregulated sexual exploration. Very, very, very dangerous. That will destroy your energy. So please don't do that. Only indulge physically with one person, and preferably or certainly after your marriage, not before. Very dangerous. And you must learn how to transmute your desires from material to spiritual. Okay, so devotion, discipline, these things are very important. And for you, you may not fear death so much because you understand that death is just a transformation. Okay, it's not the end of existence. So overall, this shows you may love intensity, so you should marry somebody who also loves you in the same way. All right, take care, Scorpio. Now we go to Sagittarius Navamsha. Sagittarius Navamsha. Ooh, Jupiter. Now, is this good or this is bad? Well, one good thing is you are in general very optimistic about your marriage, and you may also want to marry. You may be looking for getting married. For you, looks may not be your first your first criteria. Money, family status, and all this may not be very important. For you, it is very important that the person that you are marrying is doing some spiritual practice or the other, or is able to take care of you, your family, your parents also, and children. Okay, so that's very important for you. So you will look for somebody with whom you can continue your family tradition, your family lineage, and you can do spiritual practices. You can grow together. Okay, so your soul is oriented towards dharma, higher truth, higher knowledge. You may love to read the scriptures, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is also important you marry somebody who also loves to do that. You might love to go and associate yourself with a spiritual community and Your mentality should match. And in terms of career, you can also do great as a guide, guru, coach, counselor. Fantastic it is. And as a great writer, as a good orator. And if there are afflictions to this Lagna in your Navamsha, then you may realize that your personal beliefs are being challenged. Then your spiritual vision is a bit clogged up. Okay. So therefore, you need to do spiritual practices more if the D9 Lagna is afflicted. And you will have a lot of karmas which are linked to gurus, teachers, can be languages or foreign lands, cultures, religion, history, kings, queens, war, all these things. Anything ancient will always be very tempting for you. And you must align your personal truth with the universal truth, which means you should always try to see, okay, this is what I want and this is what is actually good. So what should I do? So try to balance the truth, your own truth, with the universal truth. And one challenge with this is you may give too much of unwanted advice to your spouse, or if there are afflictions, you may have a very high regard for yourself. It's like, oh, I am perfect, like I can never do wrong. I can not wrong. I can never commit mistakes. Whatever I think is right, whatever I say is right, it has to be right. And I will tell you what to do. So if you have this, then you need to understand that whatever you speak to others, first of all, you should try to follow that yourself. And if you are not able to follow that, you should not speak it every time. Sometimes you may say as a principle, but you should not speak things which you don't follow. Okay. Very, very, very important. And if your D1 is good, you may seek liberation through wisdom, learning, reading, intellectualism, and idealism, faith in God. Very, very, very important. And you need to rise beyond restlessness. At times, you may be too restless, okay, and too dogmatic at times. Oh, this is how it's always been done, so I'll also do it this way. Now, there's nothing wrong in following the tradition, but at times, you might also need to change the tradition. But this is the interesting part. If there are afflictions, you will be very anti tradition. You will be like, oh, I'm agnostic, I'm atheist, I don't believe in all this nonsense. You may think anything higher is fake, it's lie, it's nonsense, it's not correct. You may think like that. But in general, you have belief that, there is some higher power which is orchestrating everything. So your partner can be a great spiritual co-traveler with you to holy places. You might get spiritual perfection. You might obtain mukti at the end of your life. So this is a great placement. And for you, every day is like a pilgrimage. Every day you are learning something. Every day there is something new. You are upgrading yourself, and life will be very spiritual for you. All right. Great placement. Take care, Sagittarius. Now we go to Capricorn. Capricorn Navamsha. What's going on? If your Navamsha Lagna is Capricorn, then this shows you are a bit serious in life. Internally, you are serious. You are always contemplating what you should do in life. How much money do I have? How much money am I losing? What is going on where? How's my career? How is my relationship? How is my marriage? How is my health? And at times you might be a bit pessimistic and you may underestimate yourself. This is a problem. Now, this can also be good for you, which means you may be very grounded, you may be very practical, you may be very realistic. So now, if your Lagna or Saturn, Lagna means in your Navamsha, your first house, if your Navamsha Lagna is Capricorn and there are no afflictions, then you will have the positive traits. You'll be realistic, you will have hardworking nature, you'll be humble, You will like to take responsibility, you will have a long term vision, and you know that things take time. But if there are afflictions, you can be pessimistic, and you may be depressed at times. Okay. And your conception of marriage is more of like a duty rather than so much fun and enjoyment. So for you, you might see your marriage in more in terms of fulfilling your duty and your karmas and your responsibilities rather than having a great time always. Now, is this good or this is bad? This is actually good, because marriage is not like what they portray in the movies. It's a difficult task, right? And it needs a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance, tolerance. So your marriage may test your boundaries, your duty, and your emotional well-being also. And your spiritual growth will help. Will happen if you are detached and you do your duty and you leave the rest. Like Krishna says in Gita, right? Karmanyeva adhikaraste. He says, do your duty. Don't be attached to not doing your duty, but also don't be too obsessed with the results. Okay. So your challenge is that you do, but you don't expect much. So karma yoga is very important. Later on, bhakti yoga, where you immerse yourself in God, that is also important. So for you in general, career will be very important. Fatherly figures, interactions with your superiors and your subordinates, or dealing with legacy, that could also be very important. And at times you may realize you are too much materially concerned, not too materialistic, but you are very concerned, what will happen in my material life, when will I get money, when this will happen, that will happen. Materialistic ups and downs can bog you. It's like saying, you feel your peace is not there. So therefore you should do spiritual practices, because Jupiter gets debilitated in Capricorn. We know that, right? So it's like you are fetching your food all the time, but you are losing your human birth. So if you're watching this video, you are most likely a human. You are not an animal, nor you are an alien, right? You are human. You may be a deva also from the higher realms, but you know what I'm talking of, right? So true strength will come through sadhana, through discipline, perseverance, and always be humble. And at times, you or your spouse may feel a bit emotionally distant from each other. Now, this may happen because your life is a bit stressful, or you are too much bothered about, what will happen. So try to relax a bit, take vacations if required. Go towards inner fulfillment, and your duty should become like devotion. Now, it's easier said than done, but you should study about great kings like Yudhishthir Maharaj, who did their duty even though they faced so many troubles and obstacles. Okay. So therefore, do your material activities, number one, but be detached, don't expect much, and do spiritual practices. That will help you in your marriage too. All right, Capricorn, take care. Now, we'll go to Pisces. Pisces, Navamsha Lagna. What's going on? This is another feared placement. Oh, my Navamsha Lagna is Aquarius. What will happen? Okay. Aquarius Navamsha. This this can mean you are a revolutionary inside. You have very high ideals. You have ideas that are totally different. Like, for example, this will be magnified if in your date of birth you have the number 4, and if you have a number 6, you could be a bit too much materialistic. Or if you have the number 7 and 3 in your date of birth, you may be too much spiritual, you may be too much religious. So there will be something which is a bit different about you. Especially if you have 4, you are very eccentric, 4 in your date of birth. So you are born in 4th, or your basic number is 4, like 4, 13, 22, 31st, or your destiny number, which is total of your DOB, that is 4. So you can be very, very, very eccentric, and your ideas may be totally different. And you may feel that, people don't understand me. My mother, my father, my friend, my spouse, my children, my colleagues, my boss, my subordinates, nobody understands me, which is okay. Now, the good thing about Aquarius Navamsha is you you can use your ability to do research, your ability to look beyond something for good reasons. And on the other side, you can be like, oh, what is all this? Marriage is a tradition, and it was made to oppress. If you're a man, you believe, oh, what's there in marriage for men? The women are taking the alimony. Or if you are a woman with a bad chart, you will be that classic independent feminist, and you'll be miserable, male or female. You'll feel, oh, this is wrong. Marriage was made by whatever religion thousands of years back, and it's problematic for you. So with this placement, you need to understand your your relationship might be a bit eccentric, and that's okay. So you should marry, if at all you marry, you should marry somebody who also is a bit eccentric or is accepting you for who you are. Otherwise, the whole life you'll be fighting. Oh, why are you like this? Imagine you are very eccentric and the other person is like totally traditional. So you'll be like, what is this? You are always doing all these things, use your brain. No, not that a person who is religious is not using their brain, but you will feel like that. You will feel, this person is only doing, what somebody tells them, use your brain, you will feel like it. So if you strongly believe in something, also make sure to whatever extent possible that the spouse also believes in that. Okay. And your soul will seek humanity and higher ideals. AI, technology, all these things can be very good for you. And your karmas will often be linked to, groups, social movements, or innovation. Very, very, very important. And your marriage may feel unconventional. At the same time, it can be spiritually driven also. Either ways, it depends on your chart. It depends on your D9, D1, good marriage, bad marriage. And you might be very much obsessed about finding, the right connection, which is important for you, but that could be like an obsession. Like, oh, I'm into AI and I'll only marry a girl who is also into AI. So this is one problem, because just because a girl is associated with AI does not mean that our marriage will be good or the person is a good person, right? The person may not be good also. So you should look for mental compatibility about spiritual compatibility, but also you should make sure the person is a good person. Okay. And you are very futuristic. You might love to make predictions. You might love to see beyond, and you might love to honor ancient wisdom also if Jupiter is well placed in your chart, or you may deride others who talk of ancient wisdom. So science, technology is very important for you. So you love to trust, but you also love to verify. All right. So serve more people, give yourself to others, and you will obtain happiness. All right. Aquarius, take care. Now we go to Pisces Navamsha Lagna. Your Navamsha Lagna is Pisces. Uhu. Pisces is the last sign. It shows literally the exit. So you're contemplating of your exit. Well, Pisces is the exaltation sign of Venus, and Venus is the Atma Karaka for the Navamsha chart. So this is indeed a great placement to have, provided in your D1 and D9, your seventh house and Venus is well placed. So you will have deep mystical thoughts and your soul will long for divine union. If it is, if your chart is not good, this might go towards, like overly sexual behavior. If your chart is good, you might transcend all this, and you might become very spiritual. So transcendence, divine union, union with the universe, union with God, union with nature, union with everybody. These things are very important. And you may realize with this placement, you are doing more for your spouse than your spouse is doing for you, because you may love to sacrifice, be more compassionate, and be more spiritually rooted. So it is great to marry somebody who is a Pisces Navamsha, but if you are a Pisces Navamsha, then you may realize sometimes your spouse is not treating you fairly. It could be possible. So in case you feel that you are not treated the right way, you haven't been treated so far, then you need to communicate, otherwise you will get exploited. Okay, and you may have a lot of dreams, and you may be a bit loose with your money. Could be not in a derogatory sense, but yeah, you could be like, okay, I will spend it. Okay, I'll spend it on my friends, my family, my colleagues, on anyone and everyone. You are a bit loose with money. Now, again, you are very compassionate, so you don't think before. You are not very much conscious monetarily. You're like, just wanted to do it. With my friend or whatever that person wants, just give it or something like that. But the problem is, you can suffer financially if you do that. And on the challenging end, you may be prone to addictions, or like illusions, and all this, and you may have this tendency to escape from reality. Okay, so emotionally you might be in delusion. Oh, this person loves me, this person will come back one day. Hum honge kamyab. What was that movie? Mere Karan Arjun aayenge. So you're waiting, you're longing for somebody, and that person does not seem to care much about you. So Pisces Navamsha, it's a great thing, but be be a bit centered to reality. And for you, marriage is very critical, in a good way and also in a bad way, because if you get married to a good person, then you will be the happiest person because you will feel you have achieved everything in life. And if your marriage is bad, you are married to a bad person, then you'll feel everything is over in your life. Okay, so for you, you may take some time, but make sure you marry a good person. Otherwise, you are vulnerable to exploitation. Okay, and you love to surrender control, you love to give, like your heart is like, I want to give. Okay, but again, give but to the right person. So if you're a man, a woman can exploit you financially, and if you're a woman, a man might exploit you sexually or maybe even financially these days. So try to be realistic, try to be grounded, and try to engage in bhakti yoga. And career wise, you can go towards healing, or anything that has to do with travel or religion, spirituality. And forgiveness is very important for you. And spiritual awakening will come when you realize that you are actually a part of the universe and everybody deserves to be happy. Okay, so therefore, do spiritual practices, but be grounded and also be practical at times, and don't do more for others if you see they are not reciprocating. All right, so Pisces, please take care. Thank you so much.